What is up, my bearded bros? Maine-iac here with NFL Week 1 power rankings, or at least my personal power rankings. It's all opinion-based, so if you have an opinion on where someone should be and I have them in a different spot, let me know in the comment section down below. We can open a nice, civil discussion. Also, in case you didn't watch the videos last year, how this works is usually I'll have one team being the biggest mover, one team being the biggest dropper, but where it's the initial week and I haven't done any before, these are two teams that I find intriguing for different reasons, and especially the quarterback situation. We're going to go from 32 to 1, and maybe not necessarily give a little tidbit on everybody, but we'll at least, since it's the first week, we'll give the biggest positive, at least to every team that I can think of, to be nice. Because a lot of these teams at the bottom could perform a lot better throughout the year, a lot better than expectations, and a lot of teams at the top could flumble, could just fall right off a cliff. Now, at number 32, we have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are an interesting team where they have made a lot of trades recently, trading away Kiko Alonso, trading away Laremy Tunsil, trading away Kenny Stills, all of that. I have Miami at 32, just to start, because their roster does not look strong at all. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a boomer bust. Every week he steps on the field. But the one positive that I'm going to highlight for the Miami Dolphins, and to note before I say it, all these positives aren't necessarily the best aspect of the team. It's just something that could dramatically improve the team, or it's just something that I find very intriguing about this team and what could happen with it. And for the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to have to say the running back room with Kenyon Drake and Kenyon Balaj. And I believe they drafted another running back this year, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize if I can't exactly remember the name. But this running back situation intrigues me because Kenyon Drake is, to me, like an Alvin Kamara type player, but who hasn't hit that area quite yet. And with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're going to need to be good. Kenyon Balaj provides a lot of promise. If he can deliver on that, it should be a good year for the Miami Dolphins. At number 31, we have the Washington Redskins, who are this low because their offense doesn't really necessarily look that threatening. Adrian Peterson's getting old. Darius Geis is coming off I think I pronounced his last name right. I apologize if I'm wrong. He's coming off a serious injury. Case Keenum has a very minimal ceiling with a limited talent around him. Haskins doesn't look quite ready yet. The one positive I would look at for Washington is Jordan Reed's health. If he can stay healthy, this offense could go to the next level easily. He's one of those players, though, that often suffers injuries, and it's awfully terrible because he could have had such an amazing career, but he's had tremendous amount of injuries. And also the addition of Landon Collins. I can't wait to see him play in that system. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not sure what Kyler Murray can do early on in the season. Maybe they can surprise some people in the early weeks, but I see them taking some time to get into a rhythm. Does this mean at the end of the year that they'll finish in the bottom three? Not necessarily. What this means more to me is that right now, they're kind of poised there. Their defense is very solid with Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, and stars like that. But all in all, with the kind of offense they have, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, they have a lot of talent. It's just execution. Cliff Kingsbury as head coach, very unproven. It's not a knock against Arizona. It's more so I'm waiting for them to prove it more than anything. And then you have Cincinnati Bengals at number 29. Bengals are down here. The offensive line doesn't look good. A.J. Green is out for a while. Tyler Boyd is probably one of their only legitimate receiving threats. They extended Bernard, which is good. The aspect I'm looking for here on the Bengals is how their linebackers can do. Their linebacking talent's not good. It's possibly bottom 3 linebacking core in the league. So if they can step up, it could really transform what this team is capable of. And then at number 28, I have them a lot lower than a lot of people, San Francisco 49ers. One reason, I don't know exactly what you're getting out of Jimmy G. Is he going to be good? Is he going to be shaky? Because he showed a lot of promise before the injury last year, but he also had a lot of moments where it just wasn't really that good. You also have Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman at running back. You don't really have a solid wide receiver room in the sense that you know who your number one is, you know who your number two is, you know what you're getting out of Dante Pettis. That kind of stuff it's extremely uncertain, and that kind of makes me uneasy. Defense also can look quite vulnerable. The secondary should be okay, but other than that, I'm waiting to see their identity, I guess. I don't know exactly how they're going to be playing. Like, typical, a lot of teams play a lot more zone, a lot more man. This team, I don't know if they'd be better off with either one. I mean, they got a lot of talent, don't get me wrong. They have a lot of talent, but can they put it together? And then you have Tampa Bay at number 27. As you can see here, the reason why they are up here is because of Jameis Winston is a really boom or bust quarterback for me this year. If he has a bad year, he could be out of Tampa. If he has a really great year, he could sign a really good extension. He's one of the two boom or bust candidates I have up here. I love Tampa Bay, honestly. Godwin, Evans, I like the potential of Barber and Jones. Although that running back room hasn't put it together, their yards per carry is kind of bad. And Jameis Winston was benched for Fitzpatrick at one point last year. With Bruce Arians as his head coach, they should produce better. That defense should be better as well, to an extent. At least I think the secondary will perform a lot better this year. And then again, it's kind of hard not to play better than how that secondary played last year. So for now, they're 27th. At 26, we have the New York Giants, who are that high because Saquon Barkley is amazing. He's an amazing talent. That defense has talent. I don't know exactly if their draft picks are going to produce early on. I have hopes. Daniel Jones, I wonder when he's going to start. If he does start this year, that's also another aspect to look for. If the wide receiver room behind Sterling Shepard can step up this year, New York Giants could contend for a wild card spot. Then you have the Oakland Raiders at number 25. This is not saying they're the 8th worst team in the league. Remember, the very first power rankings isn't saying this team can't beat anybody ahead of it kind of thing. Anything can happen in this league, especially this early on before we see any action. With Oakland, I put them down here because I don't know what they're going to get out of their defense. They have talent on the line, they have talent in the secondary and in the linebacking core. But execution, penalties, something the franchise has struggled with over the last few years. If they do that in the division they're in, they are boned. I don't care if you have Williams, I don't care if you have Brown or Josh Jacobs. If your defense can't execute and gets penalties and everything like that, it's not going to be good. John Gruden's in his second year head coach in the system, so that's also interesting to watch. And I'm excited to see what they do in their last year in Oakland. And you have the Detroit Lions, number 24. Matt Patricia didn't really have a good first year coaching. Matthew Stafford hasn't really proven he can bring the team to the playoffs. He can put up numbers, but that's not the same thing. Running back room looks a little bit more solid. Why am I having a bad time with names? I remember these guys all the time. Kerryon Johnson, I believe is his name. The running back, I get him mixed up with Kenny Golladay, the wide receiver, and I don't know why. But those two going into, obviously, their, I believe, second and third years, should provide more of a boost to that offense, to their defense, bringing in Flowers and Mike Daniels. How will they gel together exactly? It'll be interesting to see how that linebacking core looks, the secondary looks, especially its second year under Patricia. Right now, I would say they're my bottom contenders in the NFC North, but the NFC North is really stacked. And then at number 23, you have the Buffalo Bills. They are up here because of Josh Allen, and he has shown great potential. And I'm excited to see what you can get out of Devin Singletary. And then number 22, we have the Denver Broncos. They are up here because Bradley Chubb and Von Miller are one of the most threatening pass rushing duos I have seen in the league, and Chubb should look fantastic this year. The secondary is in question. Only a few years after being the no-fly zone, they are in question, like the Legion of Boom, who no longer exists. It's sad to see, but seeing a metamorphosis this year on that defense should be fun. And if I was a Broncos fan, I would be highly interested. They're definitely a candidate. If they come out and dominate this week, they could easily crack the top 15. New York Jets at number 21. Sam Darnold, what are you going to get out of him in year 2? That wide receiver room doesn't look completely strong because there's a lot of really good wide receiver rooms out there. New York, I think, is in the bottom half in the league, if I'm honest. That front seven looks good. The safety core looks really good. Le'Veon Bell, obviously, what he can bring to the table. Sam Darnold is their season's gonna ride on how he does this year. He was up and down in his rookie year, but obviously it was his rookie year, his second year. If he can bring more stability to the position, they're a threat. And at number 20, I have the Indianapolis Colts. A little lower than what I initially would have put them at if Andrew Luck was playing. Jacoby Brissett, like with Sam Darnold, has been extremely inconsistent. The last time he played in 2017 for the Colts when Andrew Luck was hurt, he played very poorly, and the Colts didn't do well at all. But the Colts have completely rebuilt the offensive line since then. Quentin Nelson is a monster on the offensive line. Darius Leonard in the linebacking core on that group is going to provide I think he's going to do better this year than he did last year. I think, honestly, he's going to be an all-pro, and this team is going to do good. T.Y. Hilton is going to do good. Marlon Mack's going to do good. Ebron and Doyle, I'm not quite sure what we're going to get out of them this year, but this rides on Jacoby Brissett. If he can take the next step, Indianapolis will be a threat. But if he stays where he is, they're not so much a threat. At number 19, we have the Titans. I put the Titans up here a little bit more, although there's arguments to have them below the Colts and below the Jets and whatever, mainly because Mark Mariota is never fully healthy. At this point, I don't see him playing a full 16 games in a season, ever. He's always got at least one injury that knocks him out for a game, or knocks him out in a game early, and stuff like that. One reason why they are up here, though, is the running back pair of Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis. I love how they complement each other. Delaney Walker's coming back healthy. That core right there can carry this team to some wins, but they have an extremely tough division to play in. And then you have the Carolina Panthers at number 18. One reason why I have them up here, and it might be the only reason why they're so high up here, is I look at DJ Moore and I see someone who can transform that offense to the next dimension that they've been looking to add. You have people like Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton on the team, but adding that little element can make such a difference. And honestly, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see how he does. Kind of wanted the Patriots to get him, but that was sadly not possible at that point. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see if Cam Newton's shoulder's healthy. That should be interesting as well. And for the last team that's in the bottom half of the league for now is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This runs mainly on the offense. I like Nick Foles. I think he's capable of doing a lot of things. Obviously, he won started the Super Bowl and won. I like Leonard Fournette, although he was a little bit inconsistent last year, battled some injuries. The biggest question mark for me for this team is the wide receiver room. It does look kind of weak, but you don't need a ton of talent to succeed. Just like with New York, they have a star running back. They have maybe a lesser wide receiver room with a lot of talent in it. They just have to put it together, which is a common refrain that I use, but it's true. You can have a lot of talent, but if you don't put it together, you're not really going to succeed. One thing that carries the Jacksonville Jaguars above the New York Jets is that freaking defense should be amazing. I think the turnovers will increase for that defense. I think they'll win some extra games than they did last year because that defense is going to be good. I am looking specifically for that front seven to have a resurgent year compared to last year. Stop the running game better. At number 16, we have the Atlanta Falcons. I almost put them down a little lower where I'm not sure about their defense, but I think they're capable of a lot. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Obviously, those three are going to put up yards. Matt Ryan's definitely a candidate for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, whatever. One thing that causes concern for me is last year Julio Jones struggled to put it in the end zone, but Julio Jones did pick it up in the second half of the year, and I think that's going to translate well into this year. Definitely a candidate to possibly crack a top 10 with a dominant win this week. And he has the Cleveland Browns at number 15. I have him this high, although it's a cautious 15 because I'm being optimistic here. I like what I see with the Browns. I like Baker Mayfield, what he did in his rookie year. I like what Nick Chubb did in his rookie year once he got a chance. I like what the pairing of Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. looks like. I don't know if we're going to get a full 16 games out of Odell Beckham, and that kind of makes me a little nervous. I do like Njoku at the tight end position, and I like what they did to the offensive line. It could be better, but it should protect him enough with his mobility and his pressure sense to where it shouldn't be too much of an issue. He's going to make some bad throws, but I think he's going to make a lot of good ones, and that defense looks a lot better with Olivier Vernon on the end. They did get rid of Jamie Collins, who did produce some numbers for them. But the thing with Jamie Collins was he didn't make the splash plays, which I think that's an element that Olivier Vernon brings to the team, and I think it's going to be a much welcomed addition, and I'm very excited to see the second year of Denzel Ward. And then you have the Green Bay Packers, number 14, the loss of Mike Daniels. I don't know how that's going to affect the front seven. I think they're still going to perform. Obviously, they're a good team, solid team with a lot of veteran leadership. But they're under a rookie head coach, so that might have held them back a little bit. Because I like to tamper expectations for rookies. I don't like to say, oh my God, they're going to be the next second coming of Jesus. You know, if they got Aaron Rodgers, though, Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, there's not much more you can ask for. One thing that's going to probably determine how far this team can go is if Jimmy Graham actually does something for this team. Jimmy Graham has been one of the most disappointing additions to the Packers I can think of in like the last 5 years. And it makes me sad because I thought when he went to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, he would kind of have what he had when he was in New Orleans with Drew Brees. But he hasn't been able to really capitalize on it, so I'm hoping this is the year. And then we got the Houston Texans at number 13. One reason why I moved them down a little bit when I was thinking about it, I moved them down a little bit. I honestly had them at one point at number 11, but I'm thinking I don't know how that defense is going to look without Jadeveon Clowney on that defensive line. I don't know how the secondary is going to look still without Tyrann Mathieu. They have a lot of pieces that they don't have last year. But I do love the addition on the offense, Laramie Tunsil, Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills should provide a lot of health and a lot of punch to that offense. Will Fuller, who has struggled to stay on the field, should be good as well. Kiki Cutie, who also battles injury, should provide a nice boost to that offense. Deshaun Watson against a really revamped offensive line. Laramie Tunsil is controversially to some people a top 5 left tackle in the league. I still think it's a little bit too early to call him that. He has great potential, so he's definitely a boost on that offensive line that they really haven't had since Dwayne Brown left. And I think it's good. I think it's going to keep Deshaun up a lot more. The biggest weakness for me for this team is the running back room. I'm not sure what you're going to get out of Duke Johnson, and I'm not sure what you're going to get exactly out of Carlos Hyde. What exactly is the split going to be for them? Is it going to be for snap-wise? Is it going to be Duke 60%, Carlos 40%, something like that? That could be what carries the team. They have to utilize those running backs to their strengths, because Carlos Hyde was really good in San Fran until Matt Breida literally beat the crap out of him for the job. And then you have Seattle at number 12. They are up here solely on the purpose of Russell Wilson is a beast and that Jadeveon Clowney addition. That Jadeveon Clowney addition was absolutely huge. That defensive front seven looks really good. If their secondary can step up, this team could win the division over the Rams. Now, I'm not saying they will. Odds are probably, realistically, maybe a 10 to 20% chance they'll win the division. Rams are probably sitting at 65, 75, somewhere around there. Because you can't just say someone has absolutely no chance of winning the division. So you can't say the Niners and Cardinals have 0% chance. They'd probably be around the 1 to 5% chance range. I like Rashard Penny and Chris Carson, I believe. If I got their names correct, I apologize if I'm wrong. They provide a absolute punch. Then you have Baltimore at number 11. That running game should be absolutely fierce, and I love what I'm going to see out of that remade defense. And John Harbaugh, one of those coaches that's had a lot of success. A bad season here or a regression from Lamar Jackson could cost him his job. Now I know he was extended, I think, last year, but that hasn't stopped teams before. So I'm hoping they have a lot of success. They're definitely one of those challengers for the AFC North. Then at number 10, we have the Minnesota Vikings. I like their offense. I like their defense. They got a lot of talent all across the board. Biggest question mark here is going to be Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins actually going to show up on prime time? That, I do not know. Chargers at number 9. Without Melvin Gordon, how are they going to play? Without Derwin James on defense, how are they going to play? They'll have to adjust a little bit to it, but they got one of the best pass rushing duos in the league with Ingram and Bosa. They still have a really, really solid secondary, and they can put up a lot of points. Person I'm looking for to show up here is Hunter Henry. If he can play a full 16 games, he could easily be the difference maker in the Chargers possibly taking the division. And then you have the Philadelphia Eagles at number 8. They're one of the most solid teams in the league from numbers 1 through 53 on the whole roster. They're probably one of the most solid teams. I'll be honest, their running back room looks really good. I heard rumors they offered Jordan Howard for Melvin Gordon, and it didn't work out so well. But if they got Melvin Gordon, that would definitely, I think, propel this team to a top 5 team. Just because, not just because, that would propel the Eagles to a top 5 team. That running game would be fierce. Wentz, I want to see him have a fully healthy season. I don't care if the Eagles are 9-7, 8-8, 10-6. I don't care. I just want Wentz to prove he can play a full 16 games and then build on that next year. I also have Pittsburgh at number 7 and Dallas at number 6. And the reason why I group these together is I think they are very similar. Pittsburgh has Juju Smith-Schuster. Dallas has Amari Cooper. Dallas has Ezekiel Elliott. And Pittsburgh has Juju Smith-Schuster. Dallas has Amari Cooper, Dallas has Michael Gallup. And Pittsburgh has James Washington. Ben Roethlisberger, probably the better at quarterback than Dak Prescott. No offense to Dallas Cowboys fans. That defense, I think it favors the Cowboys. But I think the Steelers will still be really, really good. I actually look forward to Justin Lane of the Steelers and to see how he adjusts to the NFL. The one thing that also really or another thing that has similar is Dallas has James Witten and the Steelers have Vance McDonald. They're very similar caliber players all over the team, but I think offensively and defensively the Cowboys are just like the next step up. Minus the quarterback position and minus possibly some of the offensive line positions, although the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is really good, so is the Steelers. That's both their strengths. So they're very similar teams. That's why they're 6-7, but Dallas is just a notch better. So that's why they're close. At number 6, you have the At number 5, you have the Chicago Bears. That one was a tough one for me. And this season all depends on Mitch Trubisky. The reason why they are number 5 where they are is because they have one of the most dominating defensive units I have seen in a long time, at least from last year. The turnover perspective, and that was with Khalil Mack not even having an off season in that program. He only had a couple days in that program. So if he has a full off season, Mitch Trubisky has another year on offense. And especially the biggest change to this team and the biggest change I believe to this offense, one, a healthy Trey Burton would be nice. So hopefully he gets healthy soon. And David Montgomery, he provides a dimension to this Bears offense that kind of was lackluster last year. That might be because of the offensive line and Mitch Trubisky, but I think they're going to play a lot better this year. They are definitely NFC North contenders. Are they the NFC North favorite? They're my favorite. I honestly have them winning this. Actually, you know what? Go watch the 2019 predictions if you actually want to see what I think about them. And then you have New England at number 4. A lot of people have them at number 1 because they won the Super Bowl. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a Patriots fan. I don't even have them at number 1. Does that make me sacrilegious? Probably to a lot of New England Patriots fans, and I just want to apologize ahead of time. I like Tom Brady. Will there be a regression? Probably. The dude's fucking 42 years old. I'm surprised he's not walking with a cane and a goddamn wheelchair up to the game. Obviously an old person joke. I really don't expect that. Julian Edelman's getting older. Demaryius Thomas is coming off of injury with not a lot of practice time. Josh Gordon's coming back from suspension with not a lot of practice time. Philip Dorsett having an extra year in that system would be nice. And that's another thing I want to note. That trade that was made a couple years ago, Philip Dorsett for Jacoby Brissett, I think that benefited both teams extremely freaking well. That is one of the rare trades I will point to in the NFL and say, look back at that. A few years later, that trade is a win-win. Because if you look at the Colts, they have a possible franchise quarterback after they're stepped away to retire. And if you look at the Patriots, they have that reliable receiver option with some speed, with some burst, kind of one of their preferred type of receivers. One thing I'm looking forward to with the Patriots, and the reason why they're at number 4 is because the tight end position does look kind of weak. The David Andrews being on IR because of the blood clots in his lung. The center position looks to be a little weak. I'm not sure how that's going to perform. Left tackle Isaiah Wynn coming off a torn Achilles last year, I believe. How is he going to perform? That offensive line could be a boom or bust candidate for the team. One player I'm interested to watch in for the Patriots is Jacoby Myers, the undrafted rookie who really, really shined in the preseason and really connected with Jarrett Stidham. So hopefully, during some practices over the first few weeks, Brady and him can really develop a connection. Because he could be the next Julian Edelman. Because where Julian Edelman is old enough, he might only have a few more years in him. And that would be really perfect because Jacoby would have been in the league for 3 to 4 years and transition into that role nice and slowly. I think it's going to be good. And I'm excited to see what happens when N'Keal Harry comes off of IR. That defense also looks to be one of the best Patriot defenses that I have seen since possibly, one, the Darrelle Revis Super Bowl year, or 2, back in like 04-03 with Ty Law. Although, I'm not saying Stephon Gilmore's Ty Law. I will not say that because Ty Law was freaking amazing. At number 3, we have New Orleans. I have one reason to have New Orleans not number 1 or 2, because number 1 or 2... You know what, I'm going to say the top 3 all together. Number 3, New Orleans. Number 2, Kansas City. Number 1, the Los Angeles Rams. Why are these teams in these positions? 1, I like what I see with the New Orleans Saints, Kansas City Chiefs, and the LA Rams. They are all like 1A, 1B, 1C. I will say that they all master something that the other teams don't quite master. They all have something that the other team doesn't quite have. You have New Orleans Saints with Alvin Kamara, who is such a receiving threat, running back threat, who pairs with Michael Thomas, who's such a monster at wide receiver. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the old guys. That's what the Rams and Chiefs don't have. They don't have that nice veteran leadership at the quarterback position. They have young guys in Mahomes and Goff. That's not a knock against them. The Saints also look to have one of the best defenses they've had for like a decade and a half. They have a lot of talent. They did trade for Kiko Alonso. That's why these top 3 are very fluid. I don't think I would call you wrong in calling any of these 3 number 1. Or even maybe the Patriots at number 1 if you want to be generous. At number 2, Kansas City Chiefs. Positives I like about them: Mahomes is a monster. Hill is a monster. Kelsey is a monster. Damian Williams, I can't wait to see what you're going to get out of him in a full season. And number 2, how will Sean McCoy eat into the carry situation? Will he take away from Damian Williams' goal line touches, red zone touches, stuff like that? That's to be seen. McCole Hardman is probably my player to watch for the Chiefs. For the Saints, my player to watch is Jared Cook. Will he provide the same boost to the Saints from the tight end position that Benjamin Watson did when he played for them? That I kind of really hope so, because I just drafted him earlier today. And then at number 1, you have the Rams, because overall, although I did say the Philadelphia Eagles from 1 to 53 are the most solid roster, the Rams, to me, from 1 to 26, or like 1 to 20, are probably the best roster in the league overall. Eric Weddle, Peters, I believe, on defense in that secondary. You have one of the best pass rushers in Aaron Donald on the team. Also, not insulting Fletcher Cox when I'm saying that. Aaron Donald is an absolute freaking monster. You did lose in Dominican Sue, I believe, to Tampa Bay. But I don't think that would be too much of an issue because that Wade Phillips is a defensive genius. And then you have Sean McVay. Super Bowl hangover is very possible. Jared Goff has to take that next step. Todd Gurley, I hope he's healthy. But the player I think this season rides on. And I feel really bad because I can't remember his exact name. Although I drafted him in fantasy yesterday. I believe his last name is Henderson. He's the rookie running back that the Rams drafted in the draft this year. The only reason why I can't remember his name is because I'm really freaking bad with names. I can't even remember some of my old classmates' names. It's that bad. But if he can step up enough, prove that where they drafted him, that they took a chance on him, that he's that good. If he can provide Gurley with enough rest throughout the whole season, to where Gurley is fresh for the playoffs if they make it, fresh for the Super Bowl if they make it. Unlike last year, I think it's going to be an extremely different monster. McVay knows what it's like to be in the league now. He knows how to game plan against different teams because he's seen them up close. He's talked to Belichick. I have no doubt during the offseason he's had discussions with Belichick because Belichick's the kind of dude who he doesn't mince words. So if you have a chance to talk to him and get advice, do it. So I think right now the Rams are number 1, the Chiefs number 1B, just because you don't know what you're getting out of that defense, and the Saints number 1C, because there's some elements in that team that worry me a little bit, like the linebacker core, tight end position, what are you going to get out of it, and kind of also the wide receivers behind Michael Thomas. Are they going to step up this year? Can Ted Ginn and the rest of them step up? Who knows? Anyways, I hope you have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. And who's ready for some Thursday Night Football? Peace.